Well, hello, 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 and welcome to Steam Feed TV. We are here down for another episode. It is June 5th, and we are ready for another episode. Tonight we are going to be welcoming another guest panelist, Greg. Greg is a Steam Feed author. We've got Randy Bowden, and we've got Brooke Ballard. We have some people that have some summer things going on, so we're missing some panelists, but they will be back in the near future, which is great. Tonight we're going to be talking about Slacktivists, which I think is an excellent point. We're going to be talking about how social media has maybe turned us into a bunch of slackers. We're also going to be talking about the impact that social media has had on sports, because I think that's a big. I know myself, I'm a big hockey fan, and it's really come to the forefront in my mind about how that all works and some of the games that I would have missed had it not been for social media. And also I want to talk about maybe some Google Plus things. I learned some interesting things from Elliot Nix, who's the head of Google Mobile, about why they came up with Google Glass and the mindset behind it, and I thought it was very interesting. But before we go down that road, I want to remind everybody that SteamFeed is a sponsor of Content Marketing World 2014. And that's going to be September 8th through the 11th, 2014, at the Cleveland Convention Center. And when you go and register, make sure you put in the discount code STEAMFEED, capital S, capital F, all one word, and you'll get $100 off. So we're really a proud sponsor of that, and we're really happy to do that. So without any further ado, let's jump in and talk about Slacktivists. Randy, and I don't normally do this. I normally let everybody jump in at their own time. But, Randy, I want you to kind of set the stage for this, because this is kind of something that's off of one of your articles. And go ahead and set the stage and explain what a Slacktivist is.
Well, first of all, let me preface it by saying that I think we being the group of my peers who work in social media, and maybe others, don't tend to like to look at the negative side of social media. We always think of, oh man, social media, because we're promoting it and we're selling it to clients and things like that, and the good of social media. What slacktivism is really it's an attitude of, I have a passion for saving the dogs out there that are being, in dog fights or something like that. So I share it with my friends. How impactful is that to share it with your friends? Yes, you get some education to your friends that this is going on, but does it really impact stopping that type of brutality? And what I wrote an article recently that you referenced, and what came from that, I mean, what spurred that was the incident in Nigeria with the 300 girls or 280 girls or something like that got kidnapped, and everybody just rushed to social media and said, this is an outrage and we've got to do something. Let's empower people to go over there and save these girls. Let's go to today. The girls are still missing. Nigeria says we don't want your help. But there was for a week there was just a barrage of social media. Well, now think about this. That story was also on the national news and the cable outlets. I mean, you can't get much more national, global exposure than that. But I think what happens is people go, hey, there's a problem. I shared it with my friends and I've done enough. So the selectivism comes in, and I want to throw the ball over to Brooke's side and let her finish this, because Brooke is a prime example of somebody I think about, because she is involved in promoting something and use social media in a moderate way, but you got to put skin in the game, and that's what's missing. The selectivists, they share the opportunity, and in their mind they think they've done something to help the cause, and when you need money or actual labor, they're not there to fulfill that.
So just sharing it doesn't cut it.
Well, I'm not going to discount the fact that it spreads the knowledge. I mean, it does do that. You can't discount that. But in reality, what good is a like when you actually need some money or you need some people to volunteer?
Great point. Brooke, run with it.
Well, it's funny. I've seen both sides, and when I first got involved in social media, I was actually working for the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, which is a nonprofit in Dallas. And I was charged with forming our Young Professionals Leadership Committee and getting young people involved with the foundation, which we had never had young people involved. They kept hitting up the same families and the same older groups for money, so they needed some new blood. I turned to Facebook to help form the committee and to have our first event, which we put together in 3 months. It was a pub crawl. And through social media and other word-of-mouth avenues, we were able to get 7,500 people to sign up for this event, first-year event, and we grossed over $60,000.
So you enticed them with alcohol, huh?
Yeah, but there was alcohol involved. So, you know, that was the carrot. But social media was the vehicle. On the other hand, you know, I have a sister who has CF, and I've been a volunteer, and I've raised money every year. I worked for the foundation for 4 years. I still raise money. We raise about $10,000 every year, and I ask people online to donate and or share my message. And, you know, it's funny. We've talked about this before, Randy and I have. Who shares, who doesn't share, who donates, who doesn't donate, who donates little, and who donates big. And it's hard to say because I don't know everybody's financial situation. So for me, it does mean a lot even when someone shares the message. But yeah, then it's like you're saying. I mean, so really, what is the ROI of that share? I don't know.
So are you getting what you think is what you would consider a positive impact from social media? Is social media making a difference?
I think for this particular cause it is, because I do think I'm garnering awareness. I'm not necessarily garnering funds, but I'm garnering awareness, and that's important for cystic fibrosis because nobody knows what it is. Now, if I were raising funds for cancer and getting the same results that I'm getting for CF, I don't think it would be the same. It's not comparable because it's not about awareness for cancer. Everybody knows about cancer.
Let me ask a question. Greg, you're new to the panel.
Yeah.
I want to know what you're thinking. Do people in your generation, or not your generation, but Randy and I are old.
You know.
Where are you guys coming from? I mean, do these social media activist things mean anything to you? Do you actually respond and do something with it?
Yes, but here's how, and I can only speak for me personally, but like if UNICEF, or who I think that was one of the articles that was sort of written about, with UNICEF hit, like if I like the UNICEF page, I will admit I have as much chance of donating to UNICEF as I do to Budweiser. I like the Budweiser page. I honestly don't really like the beer. I just kind of like their Clydesdales and their messages and all that stuff. But if Brooke if I were to sign up for Brooke's cystic fibrosis page, and once a year I knew she was raising money for her sister because it's a really personal story. I have some relationship with Brooke through Facebook and various things. I would give money to Brooke through that for that cause, absolutely. So I think it really depends on how personal it is to me, and I think that's a lot of people. So Brooke probably could reach. Brooke has, let's say Brooke has 500 friends on Facebook, and they all know, once a year she makes awareness to her cystic fibrosis cause, shares her sister's story. Then I think she has a much better chance of raising that money, especially with a bar crawl and alcohol, than she would if she had to call 500 friends up on the phone. That's just me.
Greg brings a good point, Jerry, in that it's Brooke's 500 friends, and if you get a 5% return on that ask, that's just typical sales terms. That's phenomenal. Okay, so that's great. And as I said, I'm not discounting the value of sharing that, as Greg just said. Hey, I have a personal relationship with this person. They ask me, I will support them. a like doesn't do much, okay? A
Right.
like doesn't do much, but like Greg said, I have a relationship with this person, so I'm going to do a little bit more for that person. The overall reason of slacktivism is that the majority of people out there think that the like is enough. The like is enough. So out of the 500, if Brooke gets 5%, the remaining 95% just liked, or maybe they ignored it or whatever, you know. And what did that do? I mean, that's so. So think about it in that terms, how you grow it. Don't think.
And Greg made an interesting point in that it's the personal story, and I think that there are major companies and brands that are not getting the point that it's about the personal story.
I tend to always argue with that. I think there's a lot of big brands that damn sure get the story. They understand that. They understand what we just talked about. Just like Brooke, that you just take it up a step. They understand that.
Randy, I don't know if like it really. I think the social media thing, the Facebook like, it just sort of amplifies it. And let me just kind of give you a quick story. I live in like Jerry. I live in the Philadelphia market, and 5 years ago, Mike Vick got out of prison, and I mean the sports radio stations were filled with people who talked about, we are not going to another Eagles game until he is off the team, or I will never watch the Eagles until he is off the team, or they were just all the PETA folks were all up.
And how long did that last?
Like that. And that's just it. The first game of the season, they sold out. They had 67,000 people. Plus they had the 50,000 person waiting list.
My point, though, Greg.
What's that?
I think you just endorsed my point, because saying that everybody kind of rallies around that.
Right.
And they share it and they do all that, but their intention is they're showing up at the first friggin' game that comes out because they're fans, right? They didn't really live up to that. They felt like sharing that and doing it, that was their cause. I did enough.
Yeah.
Brooke, jump in.
Then I made your point. Yeah.
No, that does make total sense. Like, people think they've done their part. Like, it's with this whole net neutrality thing. We can all talk about it all we want, but if you haven't written your congressman or made a complaint on the .gov page, you're not doing enough. You're a slacktivist.
So the point about social media then is that it's again, what we often talk about in social media relationships is that you can't just take it as a social media relationship. You have to take that relationship further, make the phone call when you are at a conference or something where you make that connection. So we're talking about that more in a deeper term, so that because this is a cause that's important to you, don't just like the page, go to the next thing and do something more about it. And is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, and Brooke, go back to what Brooke said. And Brooke and I have had conversation about her, and don't single Brooke out in the fact that she has a sister that has a condition, and that's her passion. Brooke has a passion to find a cure for a disease out there. But Brooke recognizes through her audience of 500, 5,000, whatever it may be, that she knows people that will go above and beyond a like in her network.
But isn't that part of Brooke's story? Brooke's family story?
Absolutely. But the story gets lost in this is what frustrates the hell out of me. The story gets lost in there's 5,000 likes, there's 5,000 retweets, what does that do? You know, 5 of those 5,000 actually gave money to Brooke.
Well, I think the other big piece that we're missing is we're so desensitized, right? So we see these messages every day about save the dogs, save the whales, save the polar bears. My mom has
the cats.
The cats, save the kittens. Don't eat meat, don't do this. I think we're also becoming so desensitized to the amount of begging, pleading, help me, donate, do this, that I think that's a big part of it too. We're just like, oh, another whale died. Oh, scroll on, and that's terrible. I think it's awful.
Let me ask you this. Let me, and this is something that I wasn't prepared for. Is this because have these social media requests and all this stuff, has this now become an extension of I am the Prince of Nigeria, and I will give you tons of money if you. Has this become? Is this where we're at now?
Yeah,
Is this
so.
the?
You're right.
What do you
Yeah.
think?
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yep.
I think people have gotten desensitized about it, and it's just like Brooks said, you're just inundated with this, and we became conditioned. I mean, think about over the last 2 years how many articles and pictures and memes have been dedicated to like.
Right. What do you say, Greg? Jump in.
Actually, I was just thinking, what if, like, I wonder what the success rate would be if you had it more like a Kickstarter, where in exchange for your dollars, you got something tangible in return instead of just giving it to a faceless, I'm just,
Send me the flag.
You get a Save the Whale shirt or something.
And I want to go back to the original thing that I told you was the catalyst that got me started was the group of young women that were captured in Nigeria that are still missing. That story has been going on for years, okay, years, and it's still going on today. More and more have been captured. More and more things have been done over there. The only difference was that somebody developed a hashtag that got some attention and got some traction. So, there again, I don't want to say discount. I mean, it brought a national attention to this dilemma, this tragic crisis that's going on in this country over there, but had been going on for years, and all of a sudden these people going, oh, we got to do something for these 300, never mind these 4 million that have been slaughtered before that or whatever. Right. But that's what I'm saying. It was social media that brought it to a global conscience.
So what about the other end of that? Was there ever really a Malaysia jet? I'm beginning to wonder. To me, it's like, my gosh, how can nobody in this world find that jet? What's going on there? And there's social media all over it. And I don't mean to discount the fact that it's probably true, and there are people that, but you wonder to yourself, what in God's name is goodness name is going on?
Well, a big conspiracy to cover up the aliens. That's what it is.
Hey, I'm going to change subjects real quick. I want to talk about how, for me personally, being a huge hockey fan, I know from my own self, the NHL is not a really big fan. They don't get a lot of the stuff that the NBA or MLB or NFL gets. And if it wasn't for social media, I probably would not be watching my Rangers in the Stanley Cups. They are showing now, the Stanley Cup Finals. But I noticed one of the things that even in baseball games, there's that little thing on the bottom, hashtag Yankees, hashtag Red Sox. Is it changed? What do you guys think about how those hashtags and how social media is changing how we watch sports?
Go ahead, Greg.
It's become my newspaper. So every day I used to wake up and I used to go to my Philly.com, which is the local newspaper, because I'm young enough that I never actually bought a newspaper in my life. But I used to go to Philly.com and read the local newspaper. I don't even do that anymore. I pretty much just follow I have my lists, and my lists are Eagles, Phillies, Sixers, Flyers, and whatever when I on my Hootsuite dashboard. And so whenever I want to look and see what's going on in the world of sports, I don't go to the newspaper anymore. I just go to Hootsuite and I look and see what people are talking about. It's become my primary source of news in the world of sports. And then when you're watching a game, to be able to talk to somebody who you would never actually be able to talk to and say and comment on a play or comment on on how much a person is. I mean, in Philadelphia sports, how much they suck these days.
You're hitting exactly what I wanted to touch, in that you can make new friends and build your social community by just that hashtag New York Rangers. I've made more friends. Same thing with New York. I'm a New York fan.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Same time, I get it.
Yeah, but you gotta admit that like you're using sports analogy, okay? That's an entertainment, right? And you're getting you're getting immersed into somebody that's sitting on the on the 50-yard line in a football game, right? And you can talk straight to them. It's entertainment, and that is the way. That's a good thing, and that is great, but that's entertainment. That's an opinion type thing that's generated, and that puts you into a real-time conversation that is going on. So to say social media has been elevated into the sports, and I'm a NASCAR fan, and NASCAR owns social media. They own Twitter. They are doing such a phenomenal job with that it is unbelievable what you can get. I mean, you can get so much stuff right then. I mean, before I sit there.
Well, here's the point: is that social media and the hashtag has entered our lives in such a big way, and maybe for like somebody like Brooke, I did a photo shoot the other night for a fashion show, and I was amazed at how many hashtags and things were going on around that because of the hashtag. And like Brooke, I don't know if you're a sports fan, but like Randy and Greg and I have just mentioned about sports things, there's also hashtags for like, women's cosmetics and things.
Girly stuff. Yeah.
It's great, girly stuff. Yeah. But I mean, I think what Randy was saying was, one of the things that one of the presenters that I listened to at the conference was David Higdon, who's the head of social media for NASCAR, and he realized early on that at some point we have to get past all this other stuff, and we need to move to where people are, and I think that's what that's kind of where I was heading with this. So Brooke, can you give us like as a female kind of take on this? Some of the things that Randy and Greg and I wouldn't really recognize as how these hashtags and like Paul Mitchell or whatever it may be.
Not that we're sexist on this panel at all.
No, but I do follow certain hashtags on Twitter and Instagram, especially for like makeup or nail like the trending nail colors for the summer. But you know what strikes me with hashtags and the girly brands is it's more about coming up with like funny hashtags, like sayings within the hashtags that catch on and go viral. I think that's kind of a trend with the girly stuff.
So wait, you're saying that there's actually a like nail polish that's hot for the summer? See, now I don't.
You need to get on Pinterest, though.
Yeah.
I don't get on Pinterest. I'm afraid I'm going down the rabbit hole, aren't I?
Go follow Essie on Instagram. But yeah, there's like all of these colors that are hot right now for summer. Nudes and like beachy sand colors and green.
Nudes is in color, Jerry.
Yeah.
There won't be.
But see, that's interesting to me because that's it's taken to that point of nail polish colors. I mean, I think social media has taken on so many aspects of our lives that we
This is one thing that I've
phones with hashtags of summer nail polish colors.
This is one thing I'd like to throw to the panel, and this is what we as marketers, and I said this earlier, we converse to each other all the time, and I write articles for business owners. Marketers read those articles. I read marketers' articles, and we share marketers' articles. But there is so much going on, just like what Brooke just shared. There is so much going on in that space. I mean, you could go in there and talk about apple pie, right? Pecan pie, or summer vacations or anything. And these people own it. I mean, there is so much stuff going on in social media outside that, and that's what frustrates me to no end. People go, this person doesn't get it, this person doesn't. There's people that are owning it out there. There's some bloggers out there that understand that are getting it because, as Brooke said, hey, she maybe it's not the top 10 thing in her mind, but hey, what is the proper nail color today that I need to investigate? And it's easy to find. You can find it in a second.
Yeah.
And that's what's amazing about the whole thing, is that, and you're right, Randy, we're not looking at what, as marketers, we tend to talk to marketers. We're not recognizing that there are people out there that are actually doing this. All the things that we write about, all the things that we talk about, it's all real. There's people out there that are looking for this stuff. And especially the next generations coming up, it's all on the phone, and they're looking. Okay, and it's not about Yelp. It's not about TripAdvisor. They're looking what their friends have said about this place or that place.
But these are regular people too, though. Like, are you guys familiar with? I think it's called Goat Milk Farms.
Mm-hmm.
Goat Milk Farms have a huge following on social media, and it's just a family who owns goats, and they create like products from the goat milk, from like soaps to lotions to lip chap, all kinds of stuff. But they have a huge following. It's really just a family who's kind of like realized, like, oh, hey, if I have this hashtag, or if I use Facebook, or if I Instagram the baby goats, they get all these followers, but their business is booming now too.
Yeah, I'm kind of into vintage denim and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And there is a huge amount of resources on social media to find that, to connect around the globe, and resources. So any kind of thing that you might think that you're into or have an interest in finding out, you can, if you go to various, be it a blog, or be it a Pinterest. I would suggest starting on Pinterest or Instagram, because those are the dominant channels out there that really show those type things. You can find that resource.
Right. But even obscure is no longer obscure, because you're connected to everyone, and there's other people out there who are into like the weird whatever it is you're into as well. So even if it's obscure, there's a whole community out there just waiting for you.
I'm very interested in the fact that Brooke, you're moving from the city to a small farm, and now you're talking about goats. And are you taking this too seriously, too fast?
Well,
are we going to start seeing like farm to table blogs and all that kind of thing?
Well, yeah. I honest to goodness, there may be some things coming. B Squared may split off into two different brands: the online media brand and the local to farm brand, or farm to local.
That's a good
I have
thing.
Experience with that. I can help you with that.
I like it.
Yeah. So, Greg, you're in Philadelphia. I mean, what's what are people in Philadelphia catching on to that hashtags and that social media itself? Because I live in Gettysburg, where people are still going. Never do that before.
I live outside of Atlantic City. I don't live in Philadelphia itself. Yeah.
Atlantic City, cool.
Yeah, outside of, yeah.
Yeah, I know Brigantine Island very well.
I'm like 5 minutes from Brigantine Island.
Really? Awesome.
Yes.
And that's a cool place. There's places there that I have found. Brigantine Island is very small, and it's got water on three sides. And it's an awesome place. But having been there and going there regularly, there's companies and small businesses there that are only open during the summer months that understand the connection between tourists and hashtags and social media. Smart people there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, it's kind of interesting because I think, Brooke, you live in a very connected area.
Oh, yeah, here. What's funny is my sister just came to live with me, and she goes to Gettysburg College, where Jerry is.
You still haven't come to visit me. That's right.
I'm going to next semester, I promise. She just came to live with me. Literally, she moved in on Saturday evening. And since she has been here, Saturday to Thursday, she has run into like 3 or 4 friends, and it like is blowing my mind, because I'm like, how do you run into someone from Gettysburg in New York City? Like, you don't run into people here. There's like a billion people here. You just don't run into people. But she's literally like.
And how is that happening?
I don't know.
I mean, is she getting notifications from like Foursquare or something that so and so is in the area?
Well, they're all into Snapchat and Instagram. Those are their two big things. So I'm guessing there's a connection somewhere in there.
We need to jump on that for one of our future shows, is Snapchat and Instagram.
We could have Taylor come on, because
that's a great idea.
She can tell you all about it.
That's a perfect example of how it goes so fast, and even those of us that are in the business are sometimes, looking up and going, I missed that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I haven't tried Snapchat. I came really close, and then I just said, I just couldn't see it. And I know brands are out there being successful with it. I didn't jump on that bandwagon.
So, Randy, she's getting kind of closer to our age than Greg's now at this point, right?
Well, I have been on Snapchat, so.
Whoa!
Hey, well, we're out of time, folks. And Randy and Brooke, of course, thank you always for being with us. And Greg, I want to thank you for jumping in and joining us. And we will be back in a couple of weeks. And remember, Content Marketing World in Cleveland, Ohio. Use when you register for it, use the discount code STEAMFeed, and it's capital S, capital F, and you will get $100 off your registration. So until a couple of weeks from now, we will talk to you soon. And thanks all for being a part of the show.
Bye-bye.
Bye.